Welcome back. Today we're talking about the backbone of our daily lives, infrastructure, the roads, bridges, and water systems we rely on. But what happens when that backbone starts to break? In many parts of the US, that's not a hypothetical, it's reality. The American Society of Civil Engineers gave US infrastructure a C-. That's not just about potholes, it's about public health, economic stability, and safety. Years of neglect and political gridlock have left millions dealing with unsafe roads and water. So let's take a tour through 6 states where the cracks are showing, and what that means for the people living there. Let's dive in. Our first stop is Mississippi, a state where infrastructure problems run deep and touch nearly every aspect of daily life. Here, the signs of neglect are impossible to ignore. Many of the state's roads are in poor condition, riddled with potholes and cracks that make travel not only uncomfortable but also unsafe and costly for residents. Commuters and truck drivers alike face daily hazards, and the damage to vehicles adds up quickly. Funding for repairs has lagged behind inflation for decades, leaving entire communities behind. Promised projects stall out and temporary fixes rarely last, creating a cycle of decline that's hard to break. Mississippi also has one of the highest rates of structurally deficient bridges in the country. Many of these bridges are decades old, carrying more traffic than they were ever designed for. When a bridge closes, it can isolate rural communities, forcing residents to take long detours and disrupting daily life. School buses, ambulances, and delivery trucks all face delays, making simple tasks much harder. But the most visible and urgent crisis is in Jackson, the state capital, where the water system is failing on a massive scale. Residents face frequent boil water notices and unreliable service due to ancient pipes and underfunded treatment plants. The city's water infrastructure is so outdated that even minor storms can trigger major breakdowns. In 2022, heavy rain shut down Jackson's main water plant, leaving over 150,000 people without running water for weeks. Families couldn't bathe, cook, or even flush toilets, basic needs suddenly out of reach. People lined up for bottled water, something you'd expect after a natural disaster, not in a modern American state capital. The sense of frustration and disbelief was palpable. Years of neglect, a shrinking tax base, and political stalemates have pushed the system to the brink of collapse. Public buildings sit empty, and entire neighborhoods feel forgotten. City officials say they can't fix a multi-billion-dollar problem alone, while state leaders have been slow to help. The scale of the crisis is simply too big for local budgets to handle. The result? Residents pay for services they can't rely on, often receiving bills for water they can't even use. Trust in the system erodes with every outage. Parents worry about their kids' health, businesses close during outages, and trust in government erodes. The impact ripples through every part of the community, from schools to small businesses. Mississippi's story is a warning. When we ignore the basics, the consequences are catastrophic. Infrastructure is the backbone of society, and when it fails, everything else is at risk. The cracks in the roads and leaks in the pipes are symptoms of a deeper problem, failing to invest in what matters most, the health and safety of our communities. It's not just about inconvenience, it's about survival. Clean water and safe roads are fundamental needs, not luxuries. The cost of inaction is paid by everyday people, families, workers, and children who deserve better. Mississippi's crisis is a lesson in what happens when maintenance is deferred for too long. The longer we wait, the higher the price we all pay. The state's future depends on rebuilding its foundation before the next crisis hits. The time to act is now, before more communities are left behind. Let's move on. Next, we head to West Virginia, where the mountains are beautiful, but the infrastructure is crumbling. Decades-old roads, built for a different era, are now riddled with potholes and landslides. Maintaining these roads is expensive, and funding is always short. Poor road conditions isolate rural communities and make daily life harder. Water systems are also failing. Many towns rely on pipes over a century old. Water main breaks and boil water advisories are routine. Small towns can't afford the upgrades they desperately need, trapping them in a cycle of decline. Poor infrastructure drives people away, shrinking the tax base and making repairs even harder to fund. Federal grants help, but the scale of the problem is massive. The communities hit hardest are often the poorest and most isolated. For them, failing infrastructure is a daily struggle and a barrier to opportunity. West Virginia's crumbling roads and pipes are more than technical problems, they're symbols of a state left behind. Building a better future means investing in the basics so every community can thrive. The challenge is huge, but the cost of doing nothing is even greater. Let's keep going. Now, we're in Louisiana, where infrastructure is a fight for survival against water. After Hurricane Katrina, billions were spent to protect New Orleans, but many coastal communities remain exposed. Local levees are underfunded and can't keep up with rising seas and stronger storms. Every hurricane season is a gamble for these communities. Louisiana's roads are also among the worst in the nation, thanks to unstable soil and constant flooding. The I-10 Calcasieu River Bridge is a prime example. Overloaded, outdated, and in desperate need of replacement. Hurricanes don't just damage homes, they cripple power grids, water systems, and roads. Repairs often just restore the old, weak system, not build it stronger. This cycle of disaster and patchwork recovery leaves the state vulnerable. The economic impact is huge. Ports, industry, and agriculture all depend on reliable infrastructure. Louisiana's crisis is existential. How do you maintain a society in a place that's literally washing away? Ambitious plans exist, but time is running out. The water keeps rising and the ground keeps sinking. For many, it's a race against nature and against years of neglect. Let's see what's next. In Michigan, the legacy of industry is a present-day crisis of rusting pipes and crumbling roads. The Flint water crisis exposed the deadly cost of bad infrastructure decisions. A switch to a cheaper water source without proper safeguards poisoned an entire community with lead. The scars, physical and psychological, remain, and trust in government is shattered. Flint isn't alone. Many Michigan cities face aging water systems and contamination from chemicals like PFAS. Fixing these problems will take decades and billions of dollars. Michigan's roads are infamous for potholes thanks to harsh winters and chronic underfunding. Fix the damn roads is more than a slogan, it's a desperate plea. Bad roads cost drivers billions in repairs and slow economic growth. The funding model based on outdated gas taxes can't keep up. Political gridlock means roads keep getting worse. Public transit is also neglected, leaving many without access to jobs or health care. Michigan's story is about more than infrastructure. It's about rebuilding trust and opportunity. The state that once built America now faces the challenge of rebuilding itself. The lesson deferred maintenance and neglect come at a steep price. On to our next stop. Welcome to Alaska, a place where infrastructure challenges are not just difficult, they're extreme, relentless, and unlike anywhere else in the United States. Here, the environment itself is a constant adversary, shaping every aspect of daily life. Much of Alaska is built on permafrost, frozen ground that's now thawing rapidly due to climate change. This once solid foundation is turning unstable, threatening everything built upon it. As the ground melts, roads buckle and twist, buildings tilt and shift, and vital pipelines crack, putting entire communities and industries at risk. Many Alaskan communities aren't even connected by road. They depend on planes or boats for everything from groceries to emergency medical care, making them uniquely vulnerable. When a runway or harbor fails, entire villages can be cut off for weeks or even months, isolated from critical supplies and life-saving services. Everything costs more in Alaska. A simple repair can cost 10 times what it would elsewhere, and getting materials to remote locations is a logistical nightmare. Federal support helps, but it's never enough to meet the overwhelming needs. The scale of the problem is simply too vast. Coastal erosion is another crisis. Villages are literally falling into the sea as protective ice disappears, leaving homes and history at the mercy of the waves. Some communities face the impossible choice of relocating their entire village or losing everything they've ever known. This isn't a distant future problem, it's happening right now with real consequences for real people. For Alaska natives, the loss of land is also a loss of culture, tradition, and irreplaceable history, an entire way of life at risk. Alaska's infrastructure crisis is a warning, a preview of what unchecked climate change could mean for the rest of the world, as once stable ground becomes unreliable. Here, fixing infrastructure isn't just about convenience, it's about survival, community, and preserving a way of life against overwhelming odds. The stakes couldn't be higher. Every day, Alaskans face choices that will determine their future. Alaska's story is one of resilience, determination, and hope, but also of urgent need for help and innovation. Let's head to our final state. Next up, New Jersey, where a different set of challenges awaits. In New Jersey, the problem isn't remoteness, it's age, overuse, and relentless congestion. The state is a crossroads for millions, and its infrastructure is pushed to the limit every single day. The state's rail tunnels under the Hudson River are over 110 years old and in advanced decay, carrying thousands of commuters and goods daily despite their fragile condition. Damaged by Hurricane Sandy, these tunnels are at risk of catastrophic failure, threatening not just New Jersey, but the entire Northeast's economy and daily life. The Gateway program to build new tunnels is underway, but delays are dangerous. Every setback increases the risk of a major disruption that could paralyze the region. New Jersey's highways are among the busiest in the world, and gridlock is a daily reality for commuters, truckers, and families alike. Congestion means lost time, wasted fuel, and constant wear on roads and bridges, leading to more frequent repairs and higher costs for everyone. Funding battles have even shut down roadwork in the past, leaving critical projects unfinished and communities frustrated. Water infrastructure is also aging. Combined sewers overflow during storms, polluting rivers and bays, and putting public health at risk. Lead pipes are a hidden danger, as seen in Newark's recent crisis, where thousands faced unsafe drinking water until urgent repairs began. New Jersey's challenge is retrofitting a 20th century system for 21st century demands, balancing modernization with the realities of tight budgets and political gridlock. The state is too vital to let its infrastructure fail. Its ports, highways, and railways connect the entire region, making its upkeep a national priority. Its story is a warning. Without investment and political will, even the most developed regions are at risk of decline and disaster. For millions, the daily commute is a reminder of the price of inaction, as delays and breakdowns become part of everyday life. The lesson is clear. Old systems can't handle new realities. The future depends on bold choices and real investment. Let's wrap up. Here's what it all means. New Jersey's infrastructure crisis is a call to action for us all. From Alaska's melting roads to New Jersey's gridlock, America's infrastructure is at a crossroads. This isn't about politics, it's about our shared future. Letting these systems crumble costs us all in money and quality of life. Investing in infrastructure is investing in safety, health, and opportunity. Every state faces its own challenges, but the need for action is universal. What's the situation in your state? Share your stories in the comments. Thanks for joining this tour of America's infrastructure crisis. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more. See you next time.